Michael Mechanical here, and today, well, I think it's official. We already know Triton's off the road. Not driving that anymore, that thing there. It actually looks way better in that picture than it does in real life. And we've already looked at some videos and some stuff. I'm at the point where essentially I've spent some money on another car. Not buying a car, we've already got the car. And I think people know which one this is if they've been watching the videos recently, the live streams. And I think I'm going to do live streams because they seem to be the most easiest for me to conveniently do. They're less time consuming. And I don't really see the point personally in trying to make some decent videos through the computer because it just takes up so much of my time that I could be otherwise spent doing other things. I'm also in a position right now where I'm feeling a little bit stressed since Friday. I think it's Friday. That was yesterday. Since yesterday, I've been feeling a bit stressed. I've been anxious. Today, we actually ran into a issue with my dad's Pajero, and we ordered in a new wheel stud because the wheel stud is stripped. Literally, it felt like I was going to snap the wheel stud, so essentially I got Dad out. He checked it, and he said, whoever put this bolt on last is an idiot. He cross-threaded it. And Dad reckons that someone with a rattle gun did that. But he doesn't know, and I don't know either. Anyway, when I say it's the season of the Pajero ND's imports 1987 to 1988, it's because that's what's getting worked on. That's the next vehicle. That's the next project. So, here is the parts list for things I've ordered. I've ordered the bearings for the bottom end, bearings for the bottom end, bearings for the bottom end, and I've ordered the shock absorbers that we need. The problem is, essentially, with this stuff, we can't get everything. So, there are problems with getting things. The brakes on that thing, to do the rear brakes, it's very hard to get the pads. The pads aren't in this state. In fact, they're not even in Australia. They literally seem like they have to be imported. And the brake rotors themselves are one that a company here stopped manufacturing. So it's going to come from another company. We've got people who are going to try and see if they can help us get the brakes, the right brakes. Don't think they will, but they're going to try. If we can get the brake pads, then we can service the vehicle, and it will be good to go because it's got brand new brakes in the front. Literally, we're only halfway there. So there's the speed bumps that we're going to have is because of it's Dad's way or the highway, which is just ridiculous. What he wants to do with that car, and I hope I don't have to spend $1 on what he wants done to it before everything goes together. He wants the engine bay painted, and he wants the whole car painted. Because the roof is rusty, that's true. Some of the panels are a bit dodgy and rusty. And under the engine bay, we painted it and it's rusty. So we're going to get a high quality paint. And we're going to clean out the engine bay, remove what we have to, cover what we have to, spray it, let it dry, and it should be good paint that he gets. And if he gets told to put on a clear coat by his professionals, he's going to try and get free paint from professionals, as in people who actually do this stuff for a living. And the reason he's going to them for free paint is because he does so much for them, he expects to get something back. And I mean, when he does things for him, he does hundreds of dollars of work and doesn't get nothing. So, he's going to go to them and get some free paint. That's what he says. They got free. I spent money. Okay. I have to make it clear. He's in a position where he's like, I spent money for their material, for their harmonic balancer, and I made it, and it's worth a couple $100, and they've never paid for it. So I'm going to go to them, and I'm going to get that harmonics balancer's value in paint. That's the way he puts it. So he's going to go there and say, if you give me paint, we're even with this part that I made use. He's done way more than just that apparently for them, so yeah, that's gonna be that. So the plan with the Pajero is essentially remove the receipts. Here's the plan right here. So step one will be with the Pajero diesel, blah blah blah. The bearings need to be done in the bottom end. The vacuum hose has a special bolt that we need to replace. I need to make all the gaskets. Almost forgot, I need to check the oil pumps clearances, and I need to check the turbos clearances, make sure that's all good. Before the head can go on, the piston over deck protrusion for the head gasket. That is to validate which head gasket we need in case, you know, the deck's been machined too low or the pistons protrude too much. We need to know how thick the head gasket needs to be, because the standard one is 1.4. The maximum you can get gasket thickness based on the standard gaskets is 1.6 mil. So there's a 2 mil difference in the head gasket. So we need to identify which head gasket we actually need. The front strut replacement, that's on the receipt, that's coming soon. So that's in step one or stage one. Stage two is because we're going straight from the front struts to reassembly. We need to check all the bearings and grease them and repack them for the wheels. So rear wheels, front wheels, all the bearings need to be done. When we get the rear disc brakes and pads, we have to replace the discs. So removing the disc, put them on. We need to service the calipers at the rear because the pins are a little bit tight. They're not lubricated, they're dry. So we're going to service the calipers so they don't go rusty. They don't, you know, seize up, that they're so sticky that we can't move them. And then we're going to reassemble the rear brakes. After that, we need to weld behind the driver's side panel, which is essentially a crack across one of the sheets that are normally on the car. That's behind the panel. And then we need to paint the engine bay. So that's in stage two. Stage three, we need to replace the engine. So essentially what we need to do for that stage is we need to assemble the motor, we need to install the torque converter, and then we need to install the motor, but we also need to install the tail shafts. And then in the fourth phase, it says it's the service phase. The reason it's service phase is because we have to service the trans, putting oil into the transfer case and the automatic gearbox. Then we need to go do the fuel filter and the fuel lines. We need to do the engine's oil filter, coolant, and air cleaner, which will probably be done during assembly anyway. Then we need to do the brakes fluid, so we need to, you know, drain all the brake fluid out and put new stuff in. We need to service the power steering system, so putting in new power steering fluid into that, so AT fluid. We need to put in fuel into the fuel tank because it's going to be either low or mid based on the level in the tank. And we need to put in a new battery. So that covers the 4 stages to get the car ready to drive, essentially. There are some other things that need to be done, but they're later down the track. But during assembly, we have to get fan belts and stuff. I haven't ordered them yet because to save money, don't spend more than you have. Don't go too cuckoo on it. We're going to spend as much as we need to and leave it at that. But for the rest of the things we got to do, we got to get belts for the front of the engine. Not timing belts, we've got all them. We've got the timing kit. We need to get new tires for the rear. We need a spare tire for the spare tire. And that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything really else that's stopping the car from driving legally on the road, except for the, you know, stop signs, the red label that says you can't get brakes, do not proceed, because we have to get new brakes. Worst comes to worst, here's the bad part. If we're going to change the brakes and we can't get new rotors and pads, what we're going to have to do is get another rear end diff assembly with the same ratio gears in it if possible. And that means if we can, we go find another Pajero, find something preferably with disc brakes, that way it's the same sort of thing that was already on the vehicle. Shoes aren't too great in the drum brakes ain't good, not really. They're harder to service, but with disc brakes they're easier to service. If we can get disc rear end, that would be awesome. If we can't, bad luck, we have to go with what we've got. So yeah, pretty close to being done. It's pretty much nearly there. There's not much work left to do, and then we have another roadworthy, reliable vehicle on the road next to Mum's. My car's better than Dad's. His keeps breaking down. Mine is going to break down if I do not keep up with the maintenance that it requires, which is why I took it off the road, because I don't want to keep having to do the maintenance on it that it requires, with redoing the coolant, redoing the head bolts. I mean, 18 head bolts to do to 120 newton meters, and then $20 for a freaking rocker cover gasket if you stuff up, and then all the disassembly and all the reassembly. No. With my car, the Triton that's on the wall behind me right here, I'm going to save up as much money as I can when I get a job, and when I've got about 12 grand, probably 12 grand, I'm going to rebuild the entire car. And the reason I'm going to rebuild the entire car is because I need a good work vehicle. That will be a good work vehicle because it's got the ute at the back, it's equipped with the racks that go overhead, it can carry stuff, it can do things that others can't. But I was also thinking at the same time that I do all this stuff to the Triton, considering it does need repairs on the tray, considering it needs some other things, I was thinking of going the extra mile as a project car. It's less than a project car, it's not worth a project car. As a bit of a project car, what I'm going to do is try to increase its efficiency for normal driving, but increase its ability to carry loads. So what can it carry, to what rating, to what weights can I carry? And the way I'm going to do that is by having that vehicle engineered with lighter materials and making sure that everything is pretty good. The chassis could stuff up on that thing. I have no idea if it is stuffing up or if it will stuff up. All I know is it's full of sand, and every time I wash the sand out, there's just more coming out of it. And I reckon that's a good 100, 200 kilos in the chassis of sand, and I've probably flushed out about 20 of it once, but you can't seem to get all that sand out. It keeps building up with sand. So if there's 100 kilos of sand in the chassis, filling the chassis up, that's 100 kilos, brings it down to 1,600 kilos. If I rebuild the tray with a very light tray, if I put on a normal tray and an aluminum tray, means I have to do all the racks again on the rear on the tray, but it means it will drop the weight to 300 kilos, meaning it'll be 1,300 to 1,400 kilos. That thing will weigh once I get all the sand out, once I get the tray done. After that, what else can I do to lighten it? If I wanted to be a smarty pants, how about we have a brand new chassis manufactured for the thing? That is ridiculous. I don't think we'll be able to make the car light enough by remanufacturing a chassis. It needs to be really strong. It needs the right materials. I got to figure out how to reduce the weight of the vehicle itself in order to carry more load, but to, not compromise the integrity of the vehicle, but rather to retain the integrity of the vehicle at the same time decreasing the weight. It's a good question if I can actually do that with that or not. Because if I can reduce how much it weighs, if I can increase how much it can carry load-wise, I can put a ton 2 on the back, ton 5 on the back. That'll be good. If I could carry a trailer, which it brings the weight up to 2,300, 2,400. It's essentially go gross combination mass minus the vehicle's weight. Gross combination mass is about 4,400. that thing weighs almost 2 ton, 2.4 ton trailer and load. Now, if I go even further, bring that down another 400 kilos, if I can get it down that much, that brings our capacity for trailer and load up to 2,800, something like that. I could be wrong. No, probably more like 3 ton. There are cars these days that can pull more than 3 tons. Like, what? And if it's actually true and I can get a car that can pull that much, before I even bother with engineering this thing and doing all that crazy stuff with it, how about I go look at some newer vehicles and see what they're like? Let's see what their capacities are, all the technology they've got, all the maintenance, all the expenses, see what they're like. Then from there, make a decision. There's a catch-20 here, though. Newer engines apparently have are smaller. They also have a lot of turbo on them, and they wear out in a weird way that they're prone to super knock, and super knock will essentially damage a vehicle much quicker than just an ordinary knock from heat pockets in the engine. Super knock occurs before or after top dead center. And that was based on what Engineering Explained recently said in one of his recent videos. He does really good videos, I don't deny that. So I'm just wondering what I should do next. Tata will cost about 2 to 3 grand to get that thing on the road with the service that it requires, and it's like, do I really want to spend that money on it? At this point in time, I have to think logically, do things as logically as possible. I don't have an income that will make it so that I can go, yeah, let's have some fun. Let's go fix up this Tata. Go crazy and do some crazy things of trying to fix something that you can't even get parts for. That it forces you to go do the research. And if you do the research, you can find the parts. Or make the parts. With the Triton, that's a bit of a weird project, I guess. I mean, it looks good in that picture. So, I guess it's okay to think about it as a partial project car, but not one I'd change from the theme of what the Triton essentially shows in that picture. What the car represents in that picture is various things. It's got that tone which is muscle to the road, speed. You know, it's got the guts to go up and go. It's got that up and go about it. Mostly from the bull bar. The silver rims would be really cool to keep. If I have silver rims on there, yeah, I do. Polish them up, make them more chromy. Find a way to make everything as linear as possible. So if I have silver on the bull bar, I need the same silver on the rims. I need to find a theme that can carry off alongside the car. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. It also might be a good idea to figure out a theme to go over the car. And removing the bull bars, you know, the racks, instead of treating this like a work vehicle for a photo show like this, convert it from just, oh, here's a, you know, work vehicle, to take the work vehicle things off, and what have you got? You've got this awesome looking Triton. And it'd be really nice to have it looking good again. So, in one of my earliest videos I've got on my car, the very first impressions of the vehicle, I actually gave very first impressions of my vehicle. I sat in it, I drove it a little bit, and my very first impressions of that vehicle were, I'm not going to keep this. It's not a vehicle I'm going to keep in the long run. It's pretty crap, is what I said. The biggest reason that I hated that thing in the beginning is the very reason why I swapped out the seats. The seats that were originally in there were so uncomfortable. They were hard as rocks. they were not very adjustable. Like, you'd adjust it to a certain point you'd like, but then it wouldn't stay there, and it required modification in order to make it stay there. This was at the point in time where it originally had grey seats in it. I removed the grey seats within the first 3 months of ownership of that vehicle, maybe even less than that. Within the first few months of driving the vehicle, I replaced those seats, and because I had the MH here, I pulled the seats out of the MH and threw them into that. And the person who now has the MH now has the grey seats that originally came out of this vehicle here, because they were just so uncomfortable. It was mostly because when I was adjusting the seat, I got to the point where I couldn't push it back anymore. The seat would not go back any further in the cab. So what actually happened was, when I got the seat and adjusted it to a position I liked, I had to move the seat forward. And when I moved it forward, I tried to make the seat click into a position, but because the springs always push the seat forward, like, that's the best part about it. When the springs push forward the seat and rotate it, that's the best part. That's a really cool thing about those seats. And then you can use your back to straighten yourself up to make the seat latch where you want it. But the problem with doing that was, essentially, every time I pushed it back, it would hit the cab and it would still not click into any location I wanted to click into. And so that was a huge problem for me. I couldn't get comfortable, and the only seat position that the car felt comfortable was so far back that I could not sit in that thing comfortably. And so I said, I don't think I'm going to be keeping this car. It's so not comfortable. It doesn't even have headrests, is what I said in that video. And it didn't. It did not have headrests. They're now, with the seats, because I left them on the seats, gone in the other Triton. The seats in which those headrests came off of are in the trailer from a Toyota. From what I remember, it was Toyota seats. Like a Camry, I think it was. Camry headrests. Yeah. So I'm actually quite surprised that I'm still interested in keeping that. The only thing that's a downside right now is I'm not really a rich person, and I am feeling pretty bad that I've got the car off the road now. I'm not allowed to drive it anymore. But I haven't removed the insurance because I don't want the car getting stolen. If I did remove the insurance, I'd be gaining $25 roughly per month. No, per fortnight. And it would be saving me about $50 a month, is why I said fortnight. Everything that I've been doing calculations on is based on fortnightly stuff, most recently. The Triton, I don't want to get stolen. I put a lot into it already, and I'm willing to go full hog on it when it permits me to go full hog on it. Then that's because this thing is worth something in a professional work environment. Other than that, it's not really worth a dime. I could do all this work, sell it tomorrow, and I wouldn't get offered very much for it. No one will buy it. That's normal. No one's going to buy it. So I plan to keep it till the point in time where I will take it to a scrap heap and literally have the car crushed, recycled, whatever. It will literally be one of those one day after I'm done with it. Because I don't see a future past 2030 for these vehicles on the road anymore. These vehicles are going to be off the road. There's no way they're going to live past 2030. And if they do, it won't be for very long until all the fossil fuels are all gone, when they stop permitting people to, sell diesel fuel as vegetable oils for fuel. You'll literally have these positions. You'll be in these positions where you're not allowed to put fuel in these, and you're not allowed to legally register them on the road because of emissions. Your only choice at that point in time will be to buy electric vehicles, full electric, no hybrids, just electric. So by 2030, I intend to either have a really good job that I can buy an electric vehicle, or what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna be driving. I'm not gonna have a car. I'm seriously just gonna consider trying to keep myself financially afloat. I'm probably not going to be able to do these kind of videos. Yeah, it's kind of going to suck. So, at the moment, guys, I got a lot of things to work out and do. Best viable videos for me to make is the ones through the live streams. I was just wondering what should I do next, because I don't want to disappoint people. At the same time, it's just not worth my time to go and make videos. But I feel like I don't feel like it. I really believe I should make a video for the channel, a special kind of video. I've done the videos before, but they take all day to make, and the value of those videos is not enough for me to be like, yeah, I'll do this day in, day out. I'm not that interested in that stuff. It's not something my heart's set on. My heart's set on other things. But in that case and scenario, I could channel that eventually into videos, to which I could make videos incorporating the thing that I'm interested in, and make videos, and then use those two aspects to put something out there. But it'll be only at the point in time where I'm interested in making a video because I've got something that I want to share with the world that I'm passionate enough about that I can get it out there. The season Pajero starts here, and to be straightforward and honest with you guys, Triton is not going to be worked on for a while. Tata won't be worked on for a while and may potentially get sold. I have no idea yet. But just know safely, the Triton's staying. Now, there is another project car, or another two project cars around. The Pajero isn't mine. The Tartar's mine. Triton's mine. There is two more project cars on the premises that could be staying, could be going. We have the Ford Falcon XW, which Dad's been offered about 20 grand for max, and it's like, that's what it's worth. If someone bought it, it's worth $20,000 altogether with everything he's got. They take the lot for 20 grand, that's gone. But most people won't even give him 10 grand for it. They'll take it for nothing, and they won't give him something. Then, the other project car. Okay, before I go to the next project car, stop going crazy. The XW's prerequisites, before we can do any work on it, is we require paint, a crap ton of bog, a crap ton of muscle, new tires for the rims. What else? It needs professionally done the hood liner again in its lifetime. It needs something in the dash, I think, was needing to be done. It needs a new Quicksilver knob, if it can be possible to get one for that, because he put a BM shifter in it. And Dad needs about 5 to 10 grand to get most of the work done. So essentially, he has to spend 5 to 10 grand in order to have the whole car painted, in order to have the hood liner repaired and reinstalled. And then he can put the car together, and it'll be close enough to be driven. And Dad also wants to pull the C6 out, clean it up again, put it back in with a clear coat or oil or something on it, so it doesn't get corroded and rusty and all that stuff. So prerequisites for that car is 5 to 10 grand. The next project car and the last project car that we potentially have is also, well, it's not restoration. Well, this is a restoration. The XW is not a restoration. So this car is a restoration, and everyone knows it, and everyone loves it, and everyone wants to see it happen. It is the Ford Fairlane ZL 1987 with the Star Wars themed dash. That's probably the best part about it. That's what the dash was inspired from. It was inspired by Star Wars. So before we start work on it, what are the prerequisites? The prerequisites are about $40,000 in savings. Note that I said 40,000 and not 5,000. There's a lot more work that needs to be done to the ZL, and there's a lot of engineering that needs to be done to it, and a lot of other things. But let me make a point clear on how close I am to even saving that kind of money. If I stay home and if I get free money and I save it up, which I'm not allowed to do, after I save up a certain threshold, I literally have to stop receiving payments. I'm not allowed to keep receiving payments. However, what I can do is be eligible to get payments once I go below a certain threshold. So essentially, they say, you've got all this money, you have to spend it all before we give you another payment because you've been saving it up, you've been hoarding. No, I haven't been hoarding, but yes, I have, I guess. But I am trying to get a job so I can avoid the threshold, avoid the balance being that at that point where I'm not allowed to save anymore. It's something that everyone has to, follow. It's a rule they set, but they don't enforce it very well. But they could, and if they do, then it's going to be trouble. So I always keep in mind that rule of $5,000 is the limit, and that's it, no more. So to put in perspective, I've been going over all my payments, and by September, if I stay home, by September, I should have much. The remainder is this much, based on all the figures that are expected expenses, and then here's your income, and then here's what the account's balance is. That is very far from the 40,000 I said, and that's between now and this point in time. That's also including one last payment from the company I worked for, to which is, if you think about September, so we're in the 3rd month, we're almost in the 4th month. So January, February, March, April. We're in April, May, June, July, August, September. 5 months. It is going to be 5 months before I have this figure in my account, to which I could not do much with it other than half fix the Triton. That is really literally how much my car is half worth to repair. $6,321 will do half the work that the car needs. That is $2,000 for the suspension at the rear. $1,000 at front. That's half of the budget. And the last half of the budget is for the engine reconditioning. There is literally no budget for repairing the tray. There is literally no budget for the tachometer in that. There's only any leftover money will go into repairing tray, tacho, power steering, and that's it. So that is literally the case that I'm given. If I really want to fix that ZL Fairlane, I've got no choice but to get a job. And if I can save up $40,000, I can definitely start the Fairlane, as in working on it. But I'm going to start at another point. If I can get a job and I manage to save up 10 grand and I'm driving around Pajero or the Triton, whichever is in running condition first and safe on the road and whatnot, I've actually think that's a good idea as well, just to make sure that I don't end up in the position where the fairlane is going to go in the bin. I will make sure before I work on the Triton that I have that money ready plus 10,000. So it's $24,000 I'm going to have in the account. 12 grand for the Triton, 10 grand for the ZL. So if it's like, right, the ZL is going to the tip, I'm literally going to say, Dad, the car is going to the repair shop and the panels are getting done. All the repairs to the body are going to get started right here, right now. And if he says no, I'll say, well, I've got it scheduled like next week. It's going on a trailer and it's going to the body shop. He'll probably be glad that it's going out of the premises, leaving the premises. That it will not be like, oh, it is going to the tip. Yay, I'm going to have $600. It's going to be like, oh, it's not going to the tip. It's getting repaired. Well, at least you're doing something with it now. Better late than never. That's the point. So $10,000 will give me a little bit of leniency, to which I have to now figure out how I'm going to finish the rest of the car off without 30 grand. Body gets done first. It all gets repaired. It all gets photos. The body all gets prepped and painted. It's not going to be that cheap for the body prep and paint. There's going to be a lot more to it than that. It's going to be expensive compared to that number. Once the body's prepped, painted, and all that stuff, then you have to worry about suspension. The suspension components on that thing are cheaper than the Triton. For the rear coilovers, that's about $400 or $500 in springs, and about in all, there's about $800 to rebuild the rear suspension. The front suspension's about $800 compared to the Triton. Overall, the comparisons in repair cost, the Triton's about $3,000 to repair the suspension. The Fairlane's about $2,000 to repair the suspension. The body work on the Fairlane, from what I remember, was about $1,500 to $2,500 per rust repair. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 7th one is huge. And if it costs about $1,500 to $2,000, it's 7 times 1,500. 7 times that is a minimum. So that is $4,500 off of 10 of that. So it's literally $10,500 in order to have the body prepped and ready for painting. We're not even painted yet. We're literally, all the rust is all fixed on the car for $10,500. Then we got to save up the money real quick and real smart to have the car painted. And once the car's painted, the car paint job is about $5,000. That's pretty good on the leniency there. So I'm thinking about this as I go. I'm trying to make up the numbers as I go. And this is a freaking huge failure. I'm going to literally make a new sheet. I should literally start another stream rather than keep going with this one and call it Fairlane Budgeting. Do you mind if I if I do that? Oh, I'm losing my tongue. Do you guys mind if I do that? No one's here. No one's commenting. If I say something in the subtitle, the title, if I say something in the title that says ZL Fairlane Project Budget stuff, I reckon people would jump on. I reckon people would be interested in that. So let's just do the sparking and set some arcs off so we can start fixing the body up. We're not going to get very far, honestly. So let's do that. We'll talk about it in another video because this is a 40-minute video already. See you later.